All right, let's dive in. Ready to power up our vocabularies? I mean, sometimes trying to learn new words can feel like, like trying to scale Mount Everest, but with like a giant dictionary in your backpack.
I can relate to that. But hey, we're here to lighten that load. Today we're going to unpack some super practical tips to help you conquer those words.
And we've got a fantastic guide for this climb. We're going deep with insights from Hinshopia.
Yeah, they've got a great podcast and a whole platform. They're all about making language learning, especially vocabulary, fun and effective.
And effective is key, right?
Yeah.
So first up on our vocab trick, Hinshopia really emphasizes learning words in context. It's not just about memorizing isolated definitions.
Right. They give a great example with the word bright. Instead of just learning bright by itself, think bright ideas or a bright future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know for me, like when I can picture a word in a real situation, it just sticks better, like a sparkling conversation instead of just sparkling.
Exactly. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's not just you. Context provides meaning, and meaning is what helps cement a word in your memory.
Our brains love connections.
They thrive on them. Like, think of it as building a mental web of associations. Sparkling conversation. You instantly picture people laughing, witty banter, and that image helps you remember the word sparkling.
It's like the difference between, I don't know, seeing a single paint chip versus a whole mural. So much richer.
Exactly.
Okay, context check. But what about those old school flashcards? Do they still have a place in like the modern language learning world?
I think they do. But Hinshopia suggests we give them a bit of a makeover, Make them work smarter, not harder.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Spill the beans. What's the secret sauce?
All right, so instead of just writing the definition, add an example sentence. And a picture if you can. Bonus points if it relates to your own life. It makes it so much more vivid.
Oh, that's a good idea. Like if I'm learning sparkling, I might put a picture of like my best friend who's super outgoing and the sentence like, she has a sparkling personality.
Exactly. See, now you've got a story, an image. Way more memorable than just sparkling on a blank card.
Okay, flashcards 2.0. I'm digging it. But, even with the pictures and sentences, sometimes flashcards can feel a little bit like a treadmill, like you're just going through the motions.
Yeah, that's where spaced repetition comes in. And this is where tools like Anki and Quizlet, those are digital flashcard systems, can be game changers.
Spaced repetition. Tell me more about this.
So basically, you review words at increasing intervals. So it's not just cramming. It's about strategically reinforcing those memories over time. And the best part, these algorithms, they learn your strengths and weaknesses.
So it's not just blindly reviewing everything.
Right. It's like, okay, you're acing sparkling. We can space that out. But you're struggling with this other word. Let's bring that one back more often.
That's really smart. It's like having a personalized study buddy built into the app.
Totally. Personalized learning is key.
Yeah.
And speaking of personalized, Hinshopia also really advocates for tailoring your vocabulary lists. So, dear listener, let me ask you, what are you passionate about?
What gets you fired up? What are your hobbies?
Because think about it, if you're learning words connected to your hobbies, your work, your passions, it becomes so much more engaging, right? It's not just about memorization anymore. It's about giving you the tools to talk about the things you care about most.
It's the difference between learning like generic travel phrases from a textbook versus the vocabulary you need to actually like discuss your favorite video game or, I don't know, debate the latest scientific discovery.
Exactly. So forget the one-size-fits-all approach. Let's make those words meaningful to you.
Yeah, totally. It's like, why memorize words for things you don't even care about? Okay, so we've got context, we've got personalized lists. What else does Hinshopia have up their sleeve?
Well, they're big fans of immersion.
Immersion, yeah. I feel like I hear that word a lot in language learning. So what does that actually look like in practice?
Basically, it's about surrounding yourself with the language as much as you can.
Okay, so like reading, watching, listening, all in English.
Exactly. Think blogs, books, shows, podcasts, you name it. But, and this is important, it's got to be tailored to your level. You don't want to jump into like Shakespeare if you're just starting out.
Right. That would be a bit overwhelming, to say the least. So find things you enjoy, but in English.
Yes. And here's the catch. It can't be passive. You can't just have a movie on in the background and hope the words magically seep into your brain.
Yeah, I've tried that. It doesn't really work.
You got to be actively engaged. So if you hear a new word, write it down, look it up, try to use it in a sentence.
Ah, so it's not just absorption, it's about active engagement.
Exactly. And think about it. If you love cooking shows, watch those in English. You'll be picking up all kinds of culinary vocabulary without even realizing it.
Oh, that's so true. I remember like years ago, I started watching these British baking shows, and at first I was totally lost, all these like obscure baking terms I'd never heard before.
Huh?
But I kept a little notebook handy, jotted down new words, and honestly, after a while, I was navigating those recipes like a pro.
There you go. It works. And there's something about encountering a word, like in the wild,
Yeah.
out in the real world, or in this case, the real world of British baking.
It's like way more memorable than just seeing it on a list.
Yeah.
Like finding a rare gem on a hike versus just seeing it in a shop window.
Exactly. And speaking of making those words stick, Heinshopia is a big believer in active practice, too.
Active practice.
Yeah. So they recommend incorporating speaking and writing into your routine as much as possible. Doesn't have to be anything super formal.
Okay, good, because I'm not exactly writing novels over here.
It could be as simple as writing a journal entry in English or, just trying to use the new words you've learned in conversations with friends.
I used to be so intimidated by the thought of, like, writing in English. It just felt so, I don't know, high pressure. But then I realized, like, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is.
So true.
So I started small, just little things like jotting down thoughts in a notebook or even like leaving myself notes in English. It really helped. Not only did my writing like actually improve, but I found myself using those new words in conversation more confidently too.
That's fantastic. And it just proves even small actions like, texting a friend in English, those count as practice.
They all add up.
It's all about actively retrieving those words from your memory bank and putting them to work. Every time you do that, you're strengthening those connections in your brain.
Okay, ready for this one? Hinshopia's next tip is all about gamifying the learning process. And this, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of.
Oh yeah, games are powerful.
Their platform is full of like interactive games, activities. You can match words, solve puzzles, even earn badges.
Badges. Everyone loves a good badge. It's like a little virtual pat on the back.
Right. It's motivating.
And there's actually a really solid scientific reason why games work so well for learning. They tap into our natural desire for challenge and reward. Our brains, they release dopamine when we achieve a goal or solve a problem. You know that feeling, right?
The feeling of, yes, I did it.
Exactly. So when you're playing a vocabulary game and you finally master that tricky word, boom, dopamine rush.
And that makes you want to keep going, keep learning.
Makes the whole process more enjoyable, less daunting.
I think it also, takes away that feeling of overwhelm that can sometimes come with language learning.
Yeah.
Like, instead of this giant mountain of vocabulary to learn, you're breaking it down into smaller, more manageable challenges.
It's like, okay, I can totally conquer this crossword puzzle, rather than, I have to memorize 1,000 words.
Exactly. Smaller bites, more fun.
And speaking of taking things step by step, Hinshopia's final tip, it's all about consistency.
So it's not about, cramming in a marathon study session. It's about those little consistent efforts over time.
Exactly. A few minutes each day, that's all it takes.
And you know what? To help you stay on track, Hinshopia has built-in features like daily reminders and progress tracking.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's like having a little vocabulary coach right there in your pocket, giving you that extra nudge.
It's all about making it easy to stick with it. And, it's not just about reaching some arbitrary number of words either. What's really exciting is how this expanded vocabulary, it can open doors for you in ways you might not even expect.
Oh, totally. Like how?
Well, think about it. You'll be able to connect more deeply with people from different cultures. You'll be able to understand complex ideas with more nuance. And you'll be able to express yourself, well, with more confidence and precision.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
It is. It's empowering.
It's so easy to get caught up in the mechanics of language learning, the flashcards, the grammar rules, all of that.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
But ultimately, it's all about communication, connection, expanding your horizons.
Absolutely. And before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with a little challenge.
Okay, I like challenges. Hit me.
All right, so think about how you can use your growing vocabulary to achieve a specific goal.
Oh, I like that. A goal.
Maybe it's finally having that conversation with a colleague in English that you've been wanting to have, or reading that book that you've always wanted to tackle, or even writing that blog post, that you've been dreaming of.
Those are great examples, putting those words to work in a way that's meaningful to you.
Exactly. Make it personal.
This has been such a fantastic deep dive. I feel like I've got a whole new toolbox for tackling vocabulary. Thanks for all the insights.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, remember, mastering vocabulary is a journey, not a destination. So be patient with yourself. celebrate your progress, and never stop exploring the wonderful world of words. You got this.